This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, as per your time zones and locations. I hope my voice is audible to everyone. You are able to hear me properly, right? So
Yeah,
let us begin the demo. Yeah, Hamid, is my voice audible?
yes, it's audible. Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. I was actually waiting for other people to join, but seems they might join a little late. I'm getting some messages. That's fine. Let's start our today's session in which we are going to talk about the introduction to Linux, basically. See, first of all, let me give a small introduction about myself. My name is Musab Sayed, and I have around 10 years of industry experience, in which I started my career with IBM AIX and Linux. Right, slowly I moved into Linux completely, then virtualization clusters, right, and then VMware virtualization, little bit of cloud, right, Ansible, automations and all. So all these things I have been covered in my working career. I've been to different places working for different organization like Dubai and other places, right? And also past 10 years I'm very much enthusiastic to deliver the classes also. So I've been constantly delivering the classes for past 10 years, online, offline, corporate, right? All flavors of training I have delivered. I have trained more than more than 5,000 or 6,000 students already in my career span. More than 5,000 students, right? And many of them are working at different locations, different positions, etc. Right? So this is my introduction that what I've been up to. Now let us try to talk about what you're really interested to listen, the information about Linux. Now, as you know, Linux is an operating system, right? An open source free operating system that is available on internet, free to use, free to download, free to share, etc. But what exactly is an operating system? If I ask you, see, you might answer me that operating system is nothing but an interface between user and hardware. User cannot understand system language, that is the hardware language or binary language, and we cannot understand the binary language, system cannot understand our language. So we need some converter, some translator who can convert my language into system language and system language into mine. So that conversion is done by operating system. That was we have learned since the beginning that OS is an interface that converts user-friendly language into system language and system language into user-friendly language. Exactly, that's perfect. But if you see how an operating system is built, then you will get one more definition of the operating system. See, we don't have to do anything with development. We don't have to do anything with programming, nothing. Just for information purpose, I want you to know this because at least Linux administrators should know the anatomy of operating system perfectly. See, whenever you are trying to build an operating system, the first thing you have to write is something called code. Now, source code is the base program in which the entire coding part is written. Now, this coding you can do in any programming language you like. You can take C program, C++, or you might go with Java, whatever it might be. Let us say C program. Now, if this source code is written in some C program or any Java program, whatever it might be, it need certain libraries, compilers to be attached with source code so that this source code and application, when it combines, it gives you some application requirements, some compilers, some libraries need to work with source code. So when you combine source code and application, it gives you the most important part of your operating system, which is called as kernel. Now, kernel is the heart, is the soul, is the mind, is everything of your operating system. Everything in the system is dependent on kernel. It is the most important part of any operating system. Until unless kernel is alive, OS is alive. The moment kernel falls, OS also falls. Okay, so everything in the operating system is dependent on kernel. Until unless kernel is alive, OS is alive. That you have to keep in your mind. Every type of management in the system is handled by kernel. File management, process management, memory management, anything you say, everything is handled by kernel. Now, this kernel, when it is attached with different useful software, like for writing some data, Notepad, Paintbrush, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, file browser to browse internet and all. So for listening music, music players. So when you combine some important useful software with kernel, then you will get your product which is called as operating system. So operating system is nothing but a combination of kernel and software, right? So that's the technical definition what you can say when it comes to operating system. That means it is a combination of kernel with various software. What is kernel? Kernel is the combination of hardware. Kernel is a combination of source code and application, I'm sorry. And this thing will be put on a hardware, on a virtual machine, whatever it might be, and we would be using it, right? So this is the way how this thing is built. You write a source code, you add some application that is libraries and all, you get a kernel. With kernel, you attach number of useful software, and finally you will get an operating system. This is how exactly an operating system is built, right? This is something called as operating system in technical. Generally, the definition is it is an interface between user and the hardware. But this is how the operating system is actually built. Now, you might be wondering that why we are discussing this development side or this technical anatomy, right? There is a reason for it. If you want to understand the history of Linux, you should know how this thing has been working out. Now, using this formula, many operating system has been built, but the first and complete operating system of the world was built in AT&T Bell Lab, United States, and the name of this operating system is Unix. Initially, this responsibility to build Unix was given to Ken Thompson. Right, Ken is father of Pascal language. He introduced Pascal language or B language. So initially, he write the source code in Pascal language, which did not give perfect results. Then what he did, he clubbed his work with another great computing name, Dennis Ritchie. I hope you know this name very well. Dennis is father of C language. He built C language. So on his suggestion, they rewrote the entire source code in C language, and that was perfect. Now, once it was perfect, they released the first and complete operating system of the world, calling it Unix. This happened in the year 1969. Before Unix also, we used to have various operating systems, but those operating systems were more like software. One OS only for one purpose, another OS only for another purpose. Unix came as a unified solution that inside one OS you can put many software and you can do different tasks at one place. That was the beauty of Unix. And initially, when it was released, right, it was not commercial, it was not paid. They started to give it free to schools and colleges and universities so that people can see how Unix works. Slowly and steadily, it started to catch the eye of industry people, and many big name in industry like IBM or HP or other, they wanted to purchase this operating system. So what AT&T has done, they never sold complete solution as an operating system. Instead of selling the product as an operating system, they started to sell what? The most important thing to make an operating system, source code. Source code is the base program without which your OS cannot be built. So they started to sell the source code that if you have a good team of developers, you can take my source code, modify it, do some changes inside it, and come up with your own flavor of this operating system, flavor of Unix. Yes, see, Unix has many flavors. Consider Unix as an ice cream, which has many flavors. Same way, Unix is one having many flavors, and each flavor has number of versions. Every 3 years, 4 years, new versions will be released, and that's how the new version of Unixes will be coming into the market. Let us try to understand who are the topmost company who purchased the source code and brought their flavor into the market. See, the first to come was HP, and their product name is HP UX. This happened in the year 1984. Again in 1984, Apple came with their product calling it as macOS, what you get in Apple laptop, desktops, etc. Then the topmost and the very popular was from IBM, and their product name is AIX, Advanced Interactive Executive. Now this released in the year 1986, right? Same in 1992, the flavor from Sun Microsystem was released with the name Solaris. In 90s, it was at boom. Solaris was used to everywhere. It was very popular in 90s, right? There were many flavors like that, but these really ruled the market for many years, and they occupied Unix share for a lot of big time, right? Now, if you see all of them, each one of them, whatever I have named over here, they are Unix, right? And they are all paid commercial product. Nothing is free. You need to purchase them. And moreover, all of them, whatever we have about over here, they are all hardware dependent. Now, what do you mean by hardware dependency? See, if you want to go with HP UX, if you want to use HP UX, HP UX runs only on a special HP hardware. Like you see Mac OS, Mac OS only works with special Apple's hardware. You cannot install it on Dell, Samsung, or any other platform. It needs special Apple's hardware to work with, right? Same way, IBM AIX only runs on special IBM power machines. It cannot be run on any other platform. Same way, Solaris runs on Sun Spark machines. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever it might be, in late 2015 or earlier then, Sun has sold itself to Oracle. Now, no more it is called as Sun Solaris. It is now called as Oracle Solaris. Due to losses or any other thing, Sun has sold itself and Oracle has acquired Sun, right? Anyway, now if you see this combination of software and hardware makes it very expensive, very, very expensive for an individual. For big organizations, okay, they might afford it, but for new players, small companies, it would be very tough to manage these products because of the cost involved inside it. I don't know about HP UX or Mac OS or Solaris. But guys, as I've told you that past 10 years, I'm working very closely on IBM AIX. I've worked in many platform that uses IBM AIX. Let me tell you that if you want to go with a small setup of IBM AIX, very, very small, beginning, entry level, basic, which is not perfectly used on production environment. It is only used for testing environment. Basic, I'm talking about very basic. If you want to go for an entry level, basic hardware and software combination of IBM AIX, it would easily cost you $10,000, right? Very easily. So how many would invest $10,000 just to learn IBM AIX or to get basic knowledge of Unix? Am I going to spend that much of amount? Definitely not. Definitely not. So that was the problem, and that is a problem in today's time also. People wanted to learn Unix, but the cost was so high that they were not able to afford it, right? So this was the reason, guys. These all Unixes are the reason why our Linux was introduced. People were frustrated. They really wanted to work with Unix. They really wanted to use Unix, but the cost was so high that only few people could afford it. Not everyone would able to work with that. Then what happens is there was an organization which is still there, and the organization name is Free Software Foundation. In short, we call it as FSF. So what this FSF has done, see, the name itself is telling you, isn't it? Free Software Foundation. They used to distribute free software which can be used on any operating system. Like in today's time, we have open source, right? So same thing, it is one of the part of open source only. So they used to build software that can run on any platform without any licensing, without any cost. They thought that how long we are only going to deal with software. Let us try to make an operating system, and not just any operating system. This should be an exact replica of Unix. Whatever you do on Unix is possible on this kernel. It should be exactly same like how Unix works. So they started one movement calling it GNU movement. They started a project actually. GNU stands for Generally Not Unix. So they wanted to make an operating system which is same like Unix, but it should not be called as Unix. You can call it whatever you like, but don't call it Unix. Because if they call it Unix, AT&T has registered the patent, it is on their name, it's their company's product, so there will be conflict and there will be some legal actions against that. So instead of calling it Unix, they wanted to call it something else. Many young programmers, they joined this project. Many big names like Ken Thompson, Dennis Ritchie, they could not attend this concept because they were already working for AT&T. But young programmers, college students, university students, they were really interested in that project. So many young programmers tried to make the kernel. They tried, but one guy has actually done that successfully, right? There was a student from Helsinki University. Helsinki University is in Finland. right? And this guy was from Sweden who was studying in Helsinki University. So in his summer vacation, he sat back in university and as a hobby, he started to build this kernel. Initially, he tried, and finally, he succeeded to make a kernel which is exact replica or copy of Unix kernel. Now, what is the name of this guy? See, this guy who has built this kernel, his name is Linus Torvald. See how he built kernel? To build a kernel, he has first wrote the source code, added with some application, and he built a kernel. So in 1991, in Helsinki University, this guy, Linus Torvald, he built a kernel which is exactly same exact replica of Unix. And there is a symbol that has given to this operating system, the small penguin who's called as Tux, right? Anyway, so now once the kernel is ready, what else you need to make an operating system when kernel is there? Software. When you combine kernel with software, you will get your operating system. Free Software Foundation was having full of software. So they combined lots of beautiful software with kernel, right? And once it is done, the final product was out and they call it Linux. Now, I don't have to tell you that why they call it Linux, right? On the name of the guy who has developed it, Linus Torvalds, right? On the name of that guy, they call it as Linux. Now, Linux has a full form. It is standing for Linus's Unix, a Unix that has been developed by this guy called Linus, right? Now, what are the benefits of using Linux? First of all, it is open source. That means free software. You don't have to pay anything to download it, to use it, or to work it. It carries a license called GPL, General Public License. You use it, your friend can use it, everyone can use it. The source code is freely available on internet. If you go to linux.org, you'll get the latest source code from that free of cost. You can download it, you can modify it, and you can come up with your own Linux if you want. And the most beautiful thing is it is software independent. To run Linux, you don't need any specific hardware. You can put Linux on any hardware you like. You can put it on IBM's hardware, HP's hardware, Dell's hardware, Samsung's hardware, or nowadays virtualization is there, so you can put it on a virtual machine or a physical machine, doesn't matter. So it is free of cost. You can put it any hardware you want. There is no specific hardware requirement for that. Then what? When you get same benefits like Unix, same features like Unix, same command line like Unix, everything is same like Unix, only the name is Linux, then don't you think that people will move from so hefty and heavy investment to reduce their investment and work with Linux? That's what happened. Slowly and steadily, Linux has beaten all the Unixes. HPUX has seen a great downfall in their market and they have seen losses, so HP decided to stop producing HPUX anymore. Solaris, I already told you that they have sold itself. Sun, they have already sold itself to Solaris, right? Mac is one thing who's not in the race of servers. Mac is a more domestic product, right? Like laptops, desktops, some music industry guys would be using Mac for manipulation of software with their music things and all. But otherwise, in most of the environment on production, you don't see any Mac server. There are no Mac servers, right? We have servers with IBM, HP, or Solaris and all. IBM AIX was the lone fighter with Unix. They tried really hard to give a competition to Linux, but they were not able to succeed. They tried a lot, Since 1990, they were trying to do changes. They brought their Linux, calling it as Power Linux, right? But still, they were not able to completely beat the general Linux criteria. People were moving from Unix to Linux. Obviously, because the cost was drastically low, everyone can use it, everyone can learn it. If I want, I can put it on my laptop and I can work with that. So that was the ease with people were not getting with IBM AIX. And flavor of Linux started to become popular. Now, as I told you, it is freely available. Anyone can modify and they can make their flavor. You can make your own flavor. Hamid can make his flavor, Hamza can make his flavor, I can make my flavor, and we can release into the market, right? From 1991 till 1995, there used to be around 400 flavors of Linux that was out into the market. Now, can you imagine that 400 flavors for a single operating system? Because it was freely available. Every developer was releasing his own Linux, right? But there was a small issue that people were not using it on a production environment. It was more like a domestic product, laptop, desktop. People were enjoying how to work with Linux, that's it. But nobody was really interested to put it on production environment. The reason is, suppose I release my Linux, Musab Linux, into the market. Now I was just releasing it, but was I sitting behind the scene giving it proper support, proper development? Like you see Windows, new versions would be coming. If you have any problem, service packs will be coming. So people were developing Linuxes and releasing in the market. There was no proper backend support for it. Like if I have a problem with Windows, Microsoft is there to help me. If I have a problem with AIX, IBM is there to help me. If I have a problem with Mac, Apple is there to help me. But these Linuxes was releasing without any proper backend support, right? Now that's the reason people were scared or afraid to use it wholeheartedly on their environments. Now, two companies came with a very brilliant idea. See, first to come was Novell. Novell released their product calling it SUSE Linux. And on the other hand, Red Hat from USA came with their product Red Hat Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and Fedora. Red Hat Linux for desktops, Red Hat Enterprise Linux for servers, and for doing all their testing work, a project called Fedora. Fedora is not an independent operating system. It is a project from Red Hat. Any new thing they want to release in Red Hat, they will do the testing on Fedora. Developers will use it, they'll give suggestions, and whatever suggestion gets good result, they will add that thing into Red Hat, right? But Red Hat Enterprise Linux has become so popular nowadays that Red Hat Linux and Fedora is far behind. Anyway, now these two companies came with an idea that you want my operating system, take it. Take it for free, you use it, you distribute to others, we don't mind. But if you need support, if you want regular updates, then you have to purchase a subscription. So OS will be free, but the support subscription, if you need, you can purchase it, right? See, once you download Red Hat or SUSE Linux, it would be full version. There is no trial version in Linux. Like once you install Windows, it comes with 60-day trial. So there is no trial here. You can use it forever. The only thing is you won't get regular updates if you don't purchase support subscription. But that's not a problem. I'll download the latest one manually and I'll update it manually. Like that, many people are using, but most of the critical environment, they definitely go for subscription. For individual people like you and me, we might use it free of cost, right? We don't need regular subscription and all because we are learning. But on production, depending on environment to environment, people might purchase it. So this move has kept the Linux completely free in the market. So we can use it, we can work with that. Then there are some other products that are available like Debian or CentOS. CentOS is exact copy of Red Hat. It's like a free version of Red Hat with regular updates. So in CentOS, what happens is time to time you will be getting automatic updates. But the problem is you won't be having perfect backend support the way how Red Hat gives you. So for testing environments and other CentOS might be good, but on production people prefer using Red Hat only. There are many operating system, many Linuxes which are nothing but a copy of Red Hat. Like you have OEL, Oracle Enterprise Linux. Oracle Enterprise Linux is a licensed copy of Red Hat. There is a contract between Red Hat and Oracle that whenever they release any new kernel, any new version, they'll share the kernel with OEL, for which Oracle will be paying them a good amount, right? So Oracle will modify it according to their products, like they want to use it for database purpose, like Oracle DBA or Golden Gate, etc., whatever it might be. So it's a customized Red Hat operating system for Oracle, right? So many products are there which are copy of Red Hat. And there is one more a very, very wonderful system from Canonical Limited, calling it Ubuntu, an African flavor, fantastic and very much secure operating system, right? Anyway, but the topmost Linux that is ruling the market right now is Red Hat. Around 60% of Linux share is with Red Hat. They have very popular Linux. It is being used in most of the environments on the production environment, whether it is banks or IT industries or telecommunication industry. Wherever you see Linux is being implemented, even in scientific research places like NASA and all, they would be using Linux, especially Red Hat Linux has been used a lot, right? So Red Hat has gained a popularity a lot, right? And that's the reason people are learning Red Hat a lot because it is being valued most in the market. And you know, I told you that IBM has fought a great battle with Linux. They tried to beat Linux with their marketing strategies, with their products. They released Power Linux also, but nothing was working perfectly. And you know, when you are trying to make a fight with someone who is more powerful than you try, and finally, if you cannot beat them, you'll make friends with them. Same thing happened with Red Hat and IBM. They were rivals. They tried very hard to beat each other. And finally, when IBM understand that it's not easy to beat Red Hat, so what they did in a multi-billion deal, they purchased Red Hat. So now Red Hat is a product of IBM, right? In future product like IBM 9, or sorry, Red Hat 9, we might see the name of IBM might be added with Red Hat. As of now, it is not added, but maybe in coming time you may see it might call IBM Red Hat, something like that, right? But Red Hat is officially now a product of IBM. And after IBM acquiring Red Hat, the market value or market share of Red Hat has increased a lot. That's the reason it has become very popular and variety of people, a variety of industry requirement is now going with Red Hat Linux. If there is a requirement of Linux, people are preferring going with Linux. But in general, if you see thousands of flavors of Linux are out into the market. As it is customizable, everyone can release their Linux for different requirement. Even Amazon has their Linux like Linux 2 or Amazon Linux 2, something like that, they name it. But if you see, it is very much similar to your Red Hat. But the beauty over here is, guys, if you learn one Linux, the other Linuxes will become easy for you because 70-80% all Linuxes are same. Something might be here and there, little differences might come into your working environment, but if you learn one Linux, automatically you will become compatible with other Linuxes because architecture, structure, workability might be very much similar. 70 to 80% you will find all Linuxes are same. Few differences would be there which you can easily compatible with them. For example, we are learning how to drive a car. Now we know how to drive a car. Any brand car is given to you. You can sit and you can become compatible with that because you have a confidence to drive a car. So same thing happens in Linux. If you learn one Linux, other Linuxes become simple and most of the time easy to work with, right? So this is the history of Linux. Now let me talk about the certification that you can go if you are planning to go with Red Hat operating system. See, Red Hat has two certification. First is RHCSA. RHCSA stands for Red Hat Certified System Administrator, right? Red Hat Certified System Admin, right? And the other one is RHCE, the advanced one. RHCE stands for Red Hat Certified Engineer, right? So previously, till Red Hat 7, RHCSA used to be a simple certification, and RHCE used to be little tougher and more important certification. But since Red Hat 8 release, see there are new versions of operating system that would be released time to time, right? So now Red Hat 8 has been released. And I'm sorry, since Red Hat 8 version, there have been change in certification. The complete certification for Linux is now changed to RHCSA. If you are Red Hat Certified System Admin, then you are a qualified Linux System Administrator. The most required certification to start with is RHCSA, right? Entire Linux topics and all that thing. Most important thing is now moved to RHCSA. RHCE, what they have done is they have made it Ansible automation. See, industry is moving towards automation. Suppose you have an environment with hundreds of machines, and all hundred of machines you want to maintain in an automated way. Then we need some automation tool. So Red Hat, one of their product called Ansible. So what they have done, they are focusing more on Ansible now. So if you go with RHCE, Red Hat Certified Engineer, they have moved the certification from a normal Linux certification to Ansible automation certification, right? RHCSA, the exam code is EX200, and RHCE, the exam code is EX294. So previously, I only used to teach entire Red Hat RHCSA certification only. I don't used to cover anything from RHCE. But from the last batch, I have changed my strategy also because people are asking a lot that they want to go with Ansible automation as well, and it is becoming really important in industry. See, suppose you want to create some user and assign password, and that user and password you want on 100 machines. So you need to go to each machine and create a user, assign the password, create a user, assign the password. Just imagine that how much time will be wasted doing it manually, right? What if you can automate it that all 100 server with a single command or a script, you can put that on all 100 server. Suppose you want to install a new software, or you want to update a software on 100 machines. If you do it manually, it is going to take days. But with automation, it's so simple that you have to write a small thing and on 100 machines it is going to get deployed. That's the fun and that's the power of automating your work, right? And for that, one or the other automation tool, you must be aware of them. So in this curriculum with Red Hat entire RHCSA total curriculum, I'm going to cover so that if you are interested, you can go and write the certification with Red Hat Certified System Admin. Plus, I'm trying to give you Ansible automation, important basics. That means for Linux administrator, basically what happens is Ansible can support variety of operating system, Linux, Windows, cloud, AWS, or VMware virtualization, many things it can cover. So I'm trying to give you Ansible with respect to RHCE so that if you are planning to go with RHCE, you must be aware of it. And even if you're not planning to write certification, at least you know information or knowledge about the automation and you may feel the power of automation, that how it helps you. So our curriculum actually goes like this. Let me show you, right? So basically we are going to work on Red Hat 8 version, the latest version, but as Red Hat 7 and 8 are similar, I also try to give you time to time differences, like what was there in previous version and what is new in latest version, so that you may be aware of the old version and the latest version also, right? So we start with introduction, like which we have done today. Tomorrow onwards, we will start working on Unix basics. See, many people ask me that, do we need any previous computing knowledge to work with Linux? I say no, right? There's no requirement to have any previous knowledge. If you have just a basic knowledge that what is computer, what is operating system, that is more than enough to start with Linux. Because first 4 days or 5 days, we are going to work only with basics of Unix. See, to learn any Linux or any Unix, we require to have knowledge of Unix basics that works on any Unix, that works on any Linux, like how to create a file, how to create a directory, how to copy the data, how to move the data, how to rename the data, file permission, etc. Very, very basic level we will start. So even though if you don't have any previous knowledge about computing or Linux or Unix or any operating system, you can easily get compatible with that. So that basics we are going to cover up in first week. So you see the first week entirely will be dedicated for basics of Unix, right? And then we will go for your Linux administration, where we will learn different type of installation. See, labs you have to make on your laptop. I'll help you with that completely. If you are not able to work with the practicals properly, I'll take the remote session of your system with the help of TeamViewer or AnyDesk, and I'll try to help you setting up the lab. So what we are going to do generally is we'll take the virtual machines. Today is the time of virtualization. I'll talk more about this virtualization and all in tomorrow's class probably. So you see, we'll make the virtual machine same like that. In your laptop or desktop, we will install the operating system and we are going to work with. If you face any difficulties, I'll be taking the remote sessions and I'll be helping with you in installing this thing in your laptop desktop so that you can do regular practice. And moreover, we also have a lab manual that you have to follow. This PDF also will be shared with you. This cover all the topics that we are going to work with in Linux. Ansible documentations I'll share separately. So you see, it covers many things, anything, whatever it might be. Today's class, what we have covered in basic Linux, what we are going to cover. So you can see it covers everything, theory and practical. Theory and practical, all the things are available. So you need to keep this book with you, and you have to do all your daily exercises to do the practicals, right? And the other topics, what we are going to cover up, let's talk about it. So almost 3-4 types of installation we are going to see, then users and group administration, advanced concept in user administration, security perspective, we are going to talk about SE Linux, which is becoming very important nowadays, managing partitions, file systems, flexible partition with the help of LVM, network configuration and troubleshooting. To automate your work, there is a small concept in Linux that is called as cron job that works on every Linux and every Unix. That also we are going to cover. Firewall, very important. Process management, boot process, and troubleshooting the boot time issues. That is really important. Recovering the admin password if you have lost it, managing the services, accessing remote system with the help of SSH, which is very critical if you want to learn Ansible and others. This part you must be perfect, right? rsync, remote synchronization, and advanced user security using sudo, backup and restore, installing software, and some different type of servers we are going to cover, like FTP server, network file system server, Samba server, DNS server, web server, mail server. And with this curriculum, it is not done. We are going to learn Linux. We are going to learn Ansible automation, important basics that covers at least RHCE track. If you are interested, you can even work with RHCE. Moreover, I'm also giving away with this course free shell scripting tutorial. So shell scripting tutorial is like a self-paced tutorial. In that, you will get video recording of this curriculum of this course, so that if you are interested, you can also work with shell scripting. See, to automate your work, you need to write some scripts. And this shell scripting course will help you to understand the scripting concept in depth, so that you should know how to write a script, how to work with the scripting, which is becoming very, very popular now. And using this concept, we can automate our work by using Ansible, Chef, Puppet, or whatever software you are trying to use. So we are going to take live daily classes of Linux, and at the end of the curriculum, we will cover 1 week Ansible course also, so that you may be aware of automation. And also, you will be getting a free shell scripting self-paced course, so that at your convenience you can just watch the recording and learn how to work with shell scripting. And moreover, all the classes daily, whatever we are going to take, will be recorded, and you will be getting recordings of daily classes, so that later point of time, if you want to again watch, maybe while attending the class you did not pay attention to something, later on you can repeat that recording and you can understand any number of time. So every day after the class you will be getting the recording of your class, right? So you'll get the class recording, you'll get the lab manual, and you will get shell scripting. Even the shell scripting manual is attached with your regular manual. If you just see, it says, right, Linux with shell scripting manual. So it covers all the manual topics that you have in shell scripting as well. So this PDF will be shared with you, right, once we registered and the things are done. So this is how the curriculum track will be going on. Overall, as the course is big, you can see that we are covering Linux in depth, almost all topics that are available that you can work with Red Hat Certified System Admin or RHCE track. I have added recently the Ansible part also. So overall, the duration will be around 45 days or 48 days, something like that, because the curriculum is very big And I have a habit of taking the class at slow pace. I don't rush the classes to complete. Mostly you will find that I will take one topic a day so that you can easily understand it, practice it, and become perfect on that topic. I don't rush with multiple topics in a day and cover up the course in 30 days and I'll say, okay, it is done. No. My way of teaching is a little different, and I take the classes 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday, we will dedicate for your practices so that you should get a time to do practice throughout the day of entire week. Whatever we have done, you should do practicals, repeat the stuff, and come up with doubts or something like that, right? So every day the class would be 1 hour, and sometimes we may extend it to 1 hour 30 minutes. So on an average, it would be 1 hour 10 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes, but maximum we will go 1 hour 30 days. Sometimes the topics might be lengthier, so it would be 1 hour 30 minutes. Otherwise, it would be generally 1 hour 10 minutes or 1 hour 15 minutes, right? So tomorrow onwards, same time, the link is also the same. If you want to continue with the classes, same time with same link, you can join. Now, if you have any queries, guys, you want to ask me anything, you can ask your questions.